let's turn to our top story this morning. As Sarah Boone's going to be back in court next Monday after jury selection was delayed due to Hurricane Milton. Court TV's Kelly Craft is in Orlando with the latest.
Good morning, Julie. The murder trial for Sarah Boone, the woman accused of suffocating her boyfriend in a suitcase, is delayed yet again, this time because of a hurricane. The mayor of Orlando has declared a state of emergency. The judge addressed the court this morning.
Due to the potential storm and the ramifications of it, the court is going to postpone jury selection in this matter till Monday, October 14th at 9 a.m.
Jurors were sent home and told to return on Monday. Another big development in this case, Sarah Boone has rejected a plea offer from the state. Let's listen to the judge discuss this with her.
15 years to a lesser included charge of manslaughter.
Ma'am, understanding the state's offer, do you wish to accept or reject the state's offer to resolve this case?
Reject.
And you heard Sarah Boone there rejecting that plea offer in which she would serve 15 years behind bars, pleading guilty to manslaughter. But now the trial will proceed on Monday, barring any other unforeseen circumstances. Julie, that's the latest from here in Orlando. Back to you.
All right, our thanks to Kelly Craft for that update. Now let's dig in some more because we got some other news on Monday, not just the delay of the trial, but a motion filed by the prosecution. They are still trying to stop Sarah Boone from entering in that battered spouse syndrome defense as part of an overall self-defense, affirmative defense case. Let's bring in our guest now, the Director of Prosecution Projects at Florida International University and former homicide prosecutor Melba Pearson, and Court TV digital producer, and we like to say our resident expert on the Sarah Boone case, Lauren Silver. Good morning to you, ladies. All right, Lauren, would you start us off? You saw this motion hit the docket on Monday. You dug through it. The sum and substance of it, would you kind of walk us through what the state is saying, please?
So the large part of it is that the state is requesting that the judge to review the use of battered spouse, and also perhaps because the judge has already said that battered spouse can come in as a defense, say, well, at least Sarah will have to take this stand to set some foundation before introducing any kind of evidence, any kind of past bad acts. What's really interesting about this motion is it was written after the state deposed the expert for Sarah Boone. These are the forensic psychologists who are going to testify to battered spouse. And so we're learning a lot more about what she said happened that night, allegedly to the doctors, I would assume, including that she allegedly admitted to beating the suitcase with a baseball bat once George was inside of it, which is not something we knew before.
Right, Lauren, right. Let's talk more about some of these details. So I understand that he was able to, like, poke his fingers out of a little opening in the zipper, and she is said to have hit his hand with a wooden bat in the house.
Yes. So apparently he chose to get in the suitcase. Again, this was a game of hide and seek. The prosecutors did suggest that perhaps Sarah misunderstood the rules of hide and seek, but he got into the suitcase. She helped zip him in. He had these fingers that were able to stick out. And at some point he began to complain that he couldn't breathe. And this enraged her because prosecutors say it reminded her of when she felt she couldn't breathe because of his behaviors, and so she flipped the suitcase over, and then she hit his hands in the suitcase with a baseball bat.
Wow, wow. Lauren, this is brand new information in that motion. How about it? It's been since 2020 we've been talking about this case. The other thing in that motion we learned is the victim was only 103 pounds. I always wondered, how could he get inside the suitcase? That's the question I probably get the most from people, because you think, how could a man fit in a suitcase? I have no idea, didn't see him get in. He was very small, 103 pounds. Okay, so prosecutors are arguing that as a matter of law, what Sarah Boone told the doctors who evaluated her doesn't entitle her to get this evidence in, evidence of the prior violence, evidence that she was afraid of him, all of that. Melba Pearson, let's talk about this legally. The judge gets presented with this. Now he's got some more time to consider it, as you know, because of Hurricane Milton. Tell me, how do you think the court should assess this motion?
Yeah, so good morning, Julian Lauren. And this is a very tough situation because you don't want to have, the judge doesn't want to make a decision that's going to end up being appealable once, let's say, a conviction is attained in this case. If he makes the wrong decision and excludes that evidence, then that could be grounds for an overturning of the conviction at the appellate level if there's a conviction. However, there has to be something to substantiate these claims. She can't just say battered spouse syndrome and there is no documentation, there's no witnesses, there's no other, hospital records, something to document that she had been abused in the past. And usually when it comes to battered spouse syndrome, it's a matter of you've got triggered by something the person did. It does not necessarily have to be the person beat me in this instant and I responded in kind. And that was and then I'm using the defense of battered spouse syndrome. That's one scenario, but that's not the only scenario. It could be a word track. So let's say, despite the victim being 103 pounds, giving the defendant the benefit of the doubt, which I'm not saying I believe her story, but giving her the benefit of the doubt, it is possible for a smaller man to be abusive to a larger person just because of the dynamics of domestic violence, right? So the size alone isn't necessarily going to be the issue. But again, the way that she went about it, this was luring him as part of a game into a suitcase and then not letting him out, filming it, torturing him, beating him. None of that is consistent with how most people react under the context of the battered spouse syndrome. So the extra steps she took looked more like torture than I was in fear for my life, therefore I reacted in this manner, as well as the statement she made to law enforcement where she was like, oh, it's a game, I can't believe, oh my gosh, not, oh my gosh, I was afraid he was going to hurt me, therefore I had to act in this manner. So I think there's going to be some very clear guardrails that the judge is going to put in place, and she's not going to be able to present a treasure trove of evidence around the battered spouse syndrome. That's not going to happen.
Right. It's such a great legal explainer for us, Melba. Thank you for all of that. I want to share a clip. You both saw this when Sarah Boone decided to testify at her suppression hearing. And she let it out that she was still intoxicated at the time of that interview. I think her logic was that she wanted to make it seem, oh, she was under duress, coerced, not in the right frame of mind. But this might also affect the defense. Melba, I want to come to you on the other side. Let's take a look.
I was in shock. I was traumatized by the situation, and then trying to focus on everything that was going on at my home. I was hungover. I was still, I believe, intoxicated to a degree.
Okay, so Melba, you've already taught us that. So when we think about battered spouse syndrome coming in Florida, we're thinking about a self-defense case where the decedent would be doing something to threaten or, as you said, cause something to be triggered in the victim where they would, oh my gosh, feel the need to defend themselves. Here, this is an accident. So the state is saying, look, you can't assert it here. This was accidental. You've said it was accidental before. How does the intoxication get woven into this picture, Melba? Because she did make a lot of statements, and in the motion, the state is very concerned about her wanting to change her story. And Lauren, I'm going to come to you on that in a second. But Melba, how do you think the intox plays in for both sides, please?
I think the intoxication is going to be critical in terms of state of mind, because again, it's not to say you can't be in fear when you're intoxicated, but the extra steps that she took and the way she behaved and the way she told the story afterwards definitely negates anything in terms of her being fear. And the prosecution is going to use that as in, this was a drinking game. They both consensually entered into this. There was no abuse. And then she just went to the next level, became cruel, and she was the one abusive, not necessarily the victim.
Right. Melba, thank you for that. Lauren, would you remind us, please, the statements that Sarah Boone made? We know in this motion, the state kind of notes the ever-evolving stories, and they hint at, by the way, Judge, she's probably going to change it again when she testifies. Would you kind of take us back and refresh us, please?
Yeah, I mean, when this started, this was I don't know how this happened. I don't think he has a medical condition. This was just a game. I went to bed. And then it became, well, I never imagined this could happen. This was clearly an accident, and I'll never drink again. I mean, how could this have happened? I never could have expected this. And when detectives pushed back on that, it quickly began to morph into a, well, I mean, I was scared. What if I let him out? Then he could hurt me, which is a very different story than I went to bed and I thought he could get himself out.
Exactly.
It becomes an active decision rather than a passive one.
Right, Lauren. In the prosecution notes that in the motion, Mel was nodding. It's like there was a change, and you noted this as well legally, Mel. But you know, at first it was a game, and then it became, oh, I'm mad. I don't want you to breathe. Just like I feel like I can't breathe when you cheat on me. You know, she's taunting him in the video, saying something to that effect. We'll leave it here for now, but this is something we're going to be watching as we'll see what the judge does in the way of a ruling on letting that defense in. Next Monday, it all begins. Melba, you're going to stay with us. Lauren Silver, thank you for all the information. We'll be talking soon on this.